Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go.
Welcome back, guys. You guys, I am so pumped today to have one of my former coworkers on our show. Tara is a gem. We used to work together at the Edmonton Remand Center, and she has moved on to greener pastures and is now a community peace officer. Tara and I got to work together for quite a few years, actually, at Edmonton Remand Center, and I've just loved watching her kind of blossom and go all the different places. It's been amazing. And we had the honor of being partners in the Special Olympics Law Enforcement Torch Run just a couple months ago. That was super fun. We froze our freaking asses off. It was so cold, but it was also so fun. So happy to have you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me. How are you today?
I'm awesome. Just bought a house, so lots of renos and painting and all that fun stuff, but it's super fun.
Awesome. I love it. She was just showing me her son's Oilers inspired bedroom, and it looks super cool. I wish I had a cool bedroom like that when I was a kid, and I did not. I had pink flower wallpaper. That's what I got. So, you know. So tell me about your journey, because even though we worked together and we would talk when I would do my rounds and kind of catch up and stuff, I never really kind of knew how you got into law enforcement, what kind of brought you to the Edmonton Remand Center, things like that. So tell the listeners how you got into this, how your life kind of has been guided throughout your law enforcement career and changes and things like that, and kind of what you're up to now.
Okay, well, it's been quite the journey, but all worth it. So when I was about 31, I was a mom of 3 little ones, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I'd been to school a few times, and just even after school, the careers weren't paying enough. So I'm like, what am I going to do? I've always been interested in corrections. So I went to Grant MacEwan. The corrections program was full. So I was like, I'll just take general studies for now, because either way, these courses will be relevant later. And shortly after that, I ended up a single mom. So I'm like, oh crap, now I need to get a job. So I had a buddy that was a manager for a security company. And I'm like, dude, I need a job right now, pronto. And I've done security in the past. So he's like, yeah, for sure. I'll hook you up. So I ended up being a mall cop. I was there for, I don't know, 6 months to a year. And I found out that you actually only needed 2 years experience, not necessarily 2 years education. So to get into corrections. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just give it a shot. And a bunch of us that were working at the mall decided to all apply together. Found out that I needed the COPAT for my interview, and I had not been working out or anything. I was a smoker back then. Like, I think my youngest was maybe 1, so I was definitely not in shape. So tried for the COPAT, failed, and I had 5 days to get this done for my interview. And I wanted this job so bad because it was going to be double what I was making, and that's a big deal. So busted my ass all day, every day. And sure enough, passed the COPAT, passed my interview, got the job. It was incredible. Also a little stressful having like a 2-year-old, 5-year-old, and 6-year-old, because doing shift work. But thankfully back then, I did have help from family. So went to A-Port, so corrections training for the 9 weeks, which was hell, but also awesome, especially as a 32-year-old keeping up with all the young bucks. Friday was the worst day of my life, and I will never forget. I was at the remand for 6 years. It just great, stability, pension, all that stuff, but I just never felt like I fit in there, and didn't really know why. I still see humans as humans, and even if they're really shitty, I just couldn't treat them like complete trash. So it just wasn't for me, but I still wanted to stay in law enforcement. So I knew some people that transitioned to community peace officers, and I had tried to get on doing that for quite some time, but it's quite competitive. and especially when you don't have experience. So I applied and applied for a couple of years, and I ended up applying for it was just called enforcement services in Wetaskiwin, and turned out it was a bylaw position. I did have to take a little bit of a pay cut, but it was worth it just to find happiness again. I had kind of lost myself working in corrections, and I just didn't feel happy anymore, and I was just kind of ragey at home, and it just wasn't an enjoyable experience. So I'm like, it's not worth selling my soul for a job. So took a little bit of a pay cut, busted my ass, and pretty quickly, I'd say within probably 4 months, I got promoted to a peace officer level 2, which was pretty awesome. It's almost the same as bylaw. You just get to do a little bit more stuff with writing tickets and stuff. So I was there a year and a half, a little bit more than that. And I guess it would have been at Christmas last year. My boss, for my last day before going on Christmas break, told me that I was now promoted to peace officer level 1, which was awesome for me because the twos were going to drop back down to bylaw, and my ego just couldn't handle that. So I really wanted to have the authority and really wanted to be able to do traffic, because it really gets monotonous, giving people shit day in and day out for tall grass or icy sidewalks or barking dogs. I really needed more. I'd been bugging my boss for a while to get me into the bridge training program, because with my corrections training, I wouldn't have had to go to the college and start all over again. And I really did not want to have to do that at this age. So in I think it was like November was the cutoff, we found out for the bridge training, and I was having a bit of a panic because my options were to go to, now the program was going to be out in Laklabish for not 6 weeks anymore. I think it was like 10 or something like that, something crazy. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm dropping back down to bylaw because I can't leave my kids for that long and go out to Laklabish. So I was feeling pretty defeated. All of a sudden, I don't know who told me, but I found out that Tip of Spear was offering the bridge training. And I was ecstatic because I found out that they were doing this specifically for the bunch of us that were twos, just trying to keep, transition into ones and not drop down to bylaw. Super excited about that. Had to do a co-pat. And then I just finished my Tip of Spear bridge training days ago. It was like last week or something that I did it. It was the most incredible experience. Honestly, I feel more confident from the few days that I was there than I did in my 9 weeks corrections training. I got to be the only one in my whole class. Unfortunately, people weren't able to pass the co-patter pair before training. So I walked in and I thought they were just being funny. Aaron and Sean were like, oh, you can sit anywhere you want. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm the first one in the class. I'm always a keener and I get there early. And then Sean Carter starts telling me all about himself. And I'm thinking, this is weird. Like, he's going to do the spiel all over again when everyone else comes in. And then Aaron introduces himself, and then they ask me, and I'm still thinking, this is so strange. And then I come to find out that I'm literally the only one in the class. So I'm like, oh boy, because I am the queen of anxiety. And so much so that when I did my corrections training, they made me get sprayed first, because they knew if I saw everybody else running out sprayed, I would have like freaked out. Just the anxiety. Like, okay, well, we're doing this because I want this so bad. So I'm not walking out now. I had done a bunch of online courses for them prior to the in class. So it was like, I don't even know how many hours, quite a few, bunch of modules that I had to do. And then in class, it was actually mostly like control tactics. It was amazing, the stuff that they taught me. Sean Carter is incredibly talented. He just perfected everything for me, because that's the thing when you're in a big group of 30, things can get missed, and you think you're doing something right, but they don't see that you did it wrong. And Aaron was an incredible actor. We did all these scenarios, and he made it so unbelievably realistic that even though I knew it was a scenario, it felt so real. Like, he's so good. They even had these really cool tools that were like a machete and a knife and I think a hammer, but they looked so real that every scenario we did, I still thought they were real, even though I had known they weren't. Like, it was crazy.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I got that all done. I had to do traffic as well, which was awesome. I had done traffic before as a CPO too, but this was just a good refresher and it made me feel more confident because I'm like, what am I going to do when I have to pull someone over for the first time? Like, I still haven't even done that yet. So it's a little nerve wracking. All 5'1" of me, like
Yeah.
go up
Yeah.
on a jacked up Alberta truck. I'm just like, oh my God. And during traffic, Sean was the one doing the acting and he was hilarious too. Like, just so made it so real. One of them was he had to get out of the truck and like chase after me with a knife or something. And he was just, oh my, I was like terrified. But yeah, so I passed with flying colors thanks to Aaron. He frickin' was so good at helping me retain everything for my exams. He just puts everything into perspective and just makes everything logical. And he didn't want me to just memorize things on a page. He just wanted to explain it in a certain way that I could actually like remember it. And it really worked. And because I mean, the day I started training for this was the exact same day of my closing day for the house. So here I am, first day of training, having to answer a bunch of phone calls about my pod being moved to my house and like getting my keys from my realtor and all kinds of crazy stuff. And they were so good about it. They're like, this is your training. Like, we understand. And we made it work. And now I'm just waiting for everything to go into SolGen and get my title, and then I'll get on the road training and go from there. So it's pretty exciting.
That is so awesome. I love hearing that. And like, as somebody, I've known Sean for years, years and years and years through the karate community. And he was like, I remember seeing him when I was probably like 10 or 11, and he was doing a weapons kata, which is like a pattern with this bow staff. And he was fucking terrifying. Like, I was like, I don't ever want to meet this guy ever, like in a back alley, because he will kill me with his bare hands. Like, but he's also like the nicest, funniest guy ever too. Like, he's just a total sweetheart. And so when you say that, I was like, oh, perfect. Your instructors were amazing, right? Aaron, same thing. Awesome. Like, such a good guy, so relatable. And like, I really like hearing that, it wasn't just about memorizing things, because like, that's the thing. Okay, so you memorized it for your weekend training. Well, that's not freaking helpful 3 months down the road when you come across that scenario, and what are you going to do? And you don't remember what to do because you just memorized it for that test. No, you need to actually retain that information and have it like in your brain so that when you need it, it's there and you remember what you're supposed to do, right? But yeah, I think that's amazing. So take me back, like, because I always screw it up because it's different than corrections. So I always say, oh, you're moving up to a level 2. And they're like, no, I'm moving up to a level 1. And I'm like, 1 is lower than 2. That is not
I
logical.
know.
Like, okay, right.
I know. It's so
So
weird. It's the opposite.
yeah. And so I mean, we got at Blue Line, we got an influx of a ton of people when that happened, when the government was like, all peace officers now have to be level 1s. So everybody had to run their pair again. Everybody had to do bridge training. Everybody had to go through all of this. And so what's the difference between a 2 and a 1? Like, what can't a 2 do that a 1 can do?
Well, the 2 officially no longer exists as of January, but the difference was basically a 1 can pull people over. So moving traffic is the difference. So as a 2, you could do parking tickets, you could trespass somebody, so you could still write the provincial tickets, open alcohol, things like that. But as a 1, you can actually do moving traffic. You can run plates, you can do all that stuff. And like I said, the 2 no longer even exist. So for bylaw now, they can write municipal tickets, but no more provincial tickets. They don't do emergency services anymore. So for me out Wetaskiwin, I have a work phone. So if it goes off and my radio goes off, it's an emergency. So if it's fire, ambulance, whatever, I'm like MVCs, I'm rushing out there to assist and do traffic or whatever I can do. Whereas now the 2s that drop down to bylaw, they can't assist anymore. So it's kind of crappy for them. But I mean, it's kind of a big deal if you're not fit. Like, when I was doing that course with them, like every day I was beat to a pulp. Like, I was so exhausted physically, mentally. It was incredible because I'm 41 right away. And like, I was like, yeah, like I did that, man. Like, this is awesome. It just was like something I really needed, because I was starting to lose confidence, because I don't, like, knock on wood, I don't deal with a lot of conflict. I deal with a lot of drunk, mentally ill people, but people aren't necessarily fighting, like trying to fight me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lots of times I've been like, oh, like, am I gonna be able to handle that? Like, what's gonna happen? And legit, yesterday, someone was all up in my face because I was giving them a notice about some garbage in their backyard. This guy was like, he's fucked up. Like, I've dealt with him in the past, super mentally ill. And I didn't feel afraid for the first time in a long time. I just was like, bring it on, man. Sean and Aaron just, they really reminded me about complacency. Like, I hadn't been carrying my baton for a long time because I'm like, I'm never going to use it. But honestly, like, I'm so glad that I took their baton training, because just the way they taught it, I'm like, holy shit, like, I should be carrying this always. Like, it's just, it was such a wake up call for me, because like these other bridge training programs that people took, all they had to do was do law and note taking and traffic or whatever. But for me, I'm one of the only ones that's going to have this course. I feel so blessed because I'm going to just be that much more confident than most. So especially as a, 5'1" woman, like, it can be a little intimidating.
It totally can. Well, and like even moving from in like corrections where you do go hands on quite a few times, like that you really do, but you always know that there's a response team coming, or there's a partner
Exactly.
coming, or there's somebody coming at some point, right? Yes, you might have to
Yeah.
scrap for a minute. Yes, you might have to scrap for 2 minutes, but somebody's coming, right? Whereas in your
Yeah.
position, your nearest backup could be an hour away, could be an hour and a half away, could be, that you don't get that backup because you didn't get a chance to call on your radio and tell people that you need backup, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, you have to have that confidence, you have to have that skill set, you have to have the abilities, right? So, and I think that is like what you're saying, like a lot of the twos that have now dropped down to bylaw, a lot of them were, older gentlemen that had been, in this role for 20, 30 years, did not maintain their fitness, could not maintain it at 50, right? Or 55, and were devastated because they were going to have to drop down and do it. But like I said, I mean, if they're going to be pulling people over and they're going to be getting into situations where somebody could attack them, there's no way that they would survive it, right? And that's not
No,
what we
that's
want. We
not
don't we
safe.
don't want it to be an unsafe situation. Yeah, totally. Okay, and so then when you were talking about your like, so what was the modules then you did at Tip the Spear?
I did use of force. I had to do a bunch of law. And then there was a note taking module. I'm sure there was some traffic stuff. The only like the problem is it's hard to remember because I did all of the modules in like February and then
Mhm.
just did the in-person last week. So I honestly don't recall all of them, but it was a lot for sure. But I still, no matter what, retained the in-person way more than anything else. Like, it was just so great.
hmm So that's cool though that they give you the like online option, right? Because like if you can't travel, if you can't go to Laklavish for 10 weeks or however long, right? And like, there's a lot of people that can't do that. There's a lot of people who are coming into this as a second career, or parents to young kids like can't just up and leave their spouse for 10 weeks. Like one of my really good friends, Andrew, is with conservation right now in Laklavish, and he's been up there for almost 5 months, and he drives down every single weekend to be with his wife because he's got two young kids, right? And drives back every single weekend. And it's just like, holy man, like that's a lot to commit to for a job, right? I mean, and yes, it's a dream job. It's one that he's been wanting for forever, but it's still a lot, right? It's still a lot. It's asking a lot. And, you said too, like being a single mom, being a parent to three kids, right? Juggling all of that, juggling their schedules on top of your work, on top of shift work, on top, like, I mean, all of that stuff. And then to add like, oh, I'm actually just going to disappear for 10 weeks to Laklavish. Bye, guys. Right. Like, I mean, you can't
Yeah,
do that. So it's good that there is
they're all in
that, like,
sports. It was just fantastic.
yeah, exactly. It's good that there was that online option. I really think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back to kind of your time in corrections, because you touched on a couple things there too about, like that not really fitting in, that kind of humanized side of things. Because when I worked with you, you were mostly on the medical unit. So you were dealing with our medically ill inmates or female mental ill inmates. I was going to call them patients and clients. I was like, that's not what they're word. That's not the word. What is the word, Nikki? It's inmates. And so I totally get you when you're saying that, like, it's very easy to lose that human side of us, and just because they're crazy, and they're crazy. And like, you just listen to their rantings and ravings all day long, and you start to just be like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. So tell me about your time kind of in corrections and how that played out for you, and like where you felt yourself fitting in or not fitting going in?
I was lucky going in because I actually used to be a nursing attendant slash teacher's aide with special needs kids and adults. So I had a lot of background in mental health, even addictions. I had a mom that was addicted to painkillers growing up, so I saw a lot of that kind of stuff, and it was tough. It was a little bit triggering, to be honest, because I know damn well they don't belong in there. Like they belong in a hospital. Like we need a bigger Alberta hospital. The jail is not the place. Like these people don't even know what day it is. They don't know where they are. They don't know what's going on. And then you expect them to make their bed every day. And it was really hard because I don't think there's enough training for correctional officers when it comes to mental health and addiction. There's a short little section on it in our training, but there needs to be days of it. Like, I don't think you should be thrown on the healthcare unit before you have X amount of training. And the problem is with, ERC is that you're just kind of thrown into the mix and
Yep.
it's just too much too fast, right? And then when you're not skilled with it, and then when you're trained by old school mentality of just, treat them like pieces of shit. And then unfortunately you start acting like that because you think that's what you're supposed to do. And then you're like, why am I bringing this home with me? And why am I yelling at my kids? Why am I I'd come home and lock myself in the bathroom and like have a bath with the lights out and just be like, I need to be left alone in the quiet. And then even switching from corrections to community, like it took me a solid year to stop treating like civilians as criminals and tone it down and like have a different approach and not just like instant like you're a shithead. Like it took some time to just transition out of that.
It is. I find for me, it was I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And you better instantly obey. And if you don't instantly obey, like there's hell to pay, right? And that's,
Yeah.
With my kids, that's with people, like it just generalized people, like, and then you start to go like, that's not how you can talk to people. Like that is like you can't you cannot, and you're not going to get instant obeying because that's not right, right? But it
Yeah.
does. It takes time to go, oh, like, and even, even my kids, when they don't instantly get up and do what I've asked them to do, I look and then I'm like, okay, take a deep breath. Like they're just finishing what they were doing. They're not
Yeah.
like maliciously not listening to you. They're just turning the TV off and then getting up and then, like, but it's crazy because you just go like nutso when they don't listen or when somebody doesn't instantly respond, right?
Imagine if people did that to us.
Right. It's totally true. It is totally true. And I like how you touched on the fact, like for the mental illness side of things, like, yeah, like they don't know what day it is. They don't know what time it is. They don't know where they are. They're in their own head. And like you said, and we're expecting them to follow a very strict routine. At this time, you do this. At this time, you do this. At this time, meals come. At this time, you get meds. Like, because that's what jail is. It's just routine. Everything is on a schedule. Everything is happening at a specific time, right? And so yes, when they're medicated and when they've been taking their medication, it is good for them, right? It sets a little bit of a routine. It gives them some boundaries. It gives them some stability in their day. But like we also can't force medicate. And so if they don't want to take their medication, they don't have to take their medication. So that means that they can just be batshit crazy and we have to deal with it, right? Like, so totally. So was there anything that happened in your time in corrections that made you laugh out loud? Because I'm sure there was, because you worked on the medical and mental health units and because there was always crazy shit that happened there, or anything that's kind of happened in your community peace officer days that have just made you like go, oh my God, how is this my job?
My correction stories are a little too gross to talk about, probably some of the naked twerking and stuff. But probably now it's funny. So I see a lot of the same individuals in Wetaskiwin. So I've had multiple times where I run into them and they're like, Miss B, like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I got out of jail too. Like, it's really cool because, like, yes, okay, they've done shitty things, but like they grew up in shitty situations. And I know that we all have a choice and stuff, but I do have a lot of compassion for certain individuals, as I'm sure you do too. You're regulars, right? Like, I actually was working a few weeks ago because I work at the RCMP station, and I hear so the cells are there, and I hear someone go, Tara Hahn, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? Tara Hahn's here? And I'm like, holy shit! So I go back to the cells, and I'm like, Tara, what are you doing here? And she's like, Miss B, I swear I've been doing so good. I'm like, got my life together. I missed my court date. And I was like, oh man, like it was really cool just to talk to her as a human being. Like I was like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, like I had so much high hopes for you, man. Like I saw you in and day out for 6 years, and like
Mm-hmm.
here you are again, but like please don't give up. Like she's like, I swear,
Mm-hmm.
Miss B, I'm doing better. And it just really makes me feel good. Like it's just you see them as humans, and when they really are trying to be better, it's like
Yeah.
having a little kid like excel
Yeah.
in something.
Yeah, it is. It's totally true. It's funny that you said that because I literally just in the last like week and a half, I ran into two cons that like recognized me right away, and they were like, "ST, like what are you doing? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh well, I don't work at the jail anymore." They're like, "What? You don't work there anymore?" And I'm like, "No, I quit. I own my own business. I'm living my best life." And they're like, "Good for you. You were too good for that place anyways." And I'm just like, "Okay, bless your heart." But and the same thing, "Oh, so what are you guys up to?" "Oh, I'm a second year electrician. Like I'm working really hard. I got clean. I got a house. I'm doing good." It's like, "Okay, well, good for you." Like, "Oh, I got out of the gang. Like I'm doing my best. I'm laying low, living my life." It's like, good. Like, okay, we'll just keep doing that. Like, keep doing the good things. Like, don't let
Yeah,
yourself slide back, because the amount of times that they do let themselves slide back is also, like
I
those
know.
one-off stories where we're like, yes, they finally made it, and then you're like, well, they also just made it for a year and then slid back. But fair, it is what it is, right? So
Right.
so that's awesome. I love hearing that. And so then tell me about any kind of situations you've been in where it's been like, oh my God, like that could have gone real south real fast.
There was an incident last winter where I was patrolling the mall outside and in my vehicle, and I saw this guy laying on the ground with blood everywhere and all these people standing around him and security and all this stuff. I'm like, what crap? So pull over. I'm like, what the hell happened? So I just thought Buddy slipped, hit his head, and like I called an ambulance and all this stuff, called RCMP to come. Turns out this guy was running from security from inside the mall because I don't know if he was banned or some shit. This guy was like definitely on probably meth or something. So he was running around the mall, slid on some ice, hit his head, and it was almost comical because this security guard, bless her heart, but super young and not super trained, she's like, sir, just letting you know that you are banned from the mall, okay? Do you understand? Like, Buddy was like, man, like this guy was not even conscious or sober. Like, I'm like, girl, you're wasting your time, but okay. And so then he sees me, and for whatever reason, he thought I was RCMP, and he flips out, like instantly flips out, like, fucking RCMP, they're rapists and all this shit. He went nuts and he starts kicking me. And I jump back, and then I grabbed a hold of his arm to put behind his back, and he scratched my arm with his like bloody hand. So it was pretty gross. So I had to go get a
Mhm.
shot and everything. And there was this awesome civilian that was there because this was a really big guy. Like, and you know how the strength is on meth, right? Like they like
Mhm.
so this guy was like 6 foot, at least 250, and the civilian like helped me flip him over and get him cuffed. And I got all that done before RCMP even got there. And it was so badass. I'm like, I got this, like here, take him away kind of thing. Where he had to go, I guess they were taking him to the hospital because he was in like a psychosis, but it was just like, I did that. Like it was just and that was before I had my recent training at tip of spear. So now I probably could have been fine even without that civilian. Like I feel so much more confident. Like I had done a bunch of flipping people in when I did corrections training, but that was like a long time ago now. Like that was in 2015. So yeah, you get your odd research and stuff, but it's kind of just you're just kind of fucking around. You're not really like taking it super serious or
Mhm.
really thinking that this is gonna happen, right? But whereas this training I just did was super realistic, like this could for sure happen, especially where I'm at out there. Yeah.
I think, like you said, that's the key thing too, is like that knowledge of it's going to be you and you alone. And so you would better know what to do, how to do it, how to get out of multiple different situations, like treat it realistically, because, if you don't, and it is kind of sad that we do that. And like, I think all professions do that, right? You got to do the research training and you click, 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 click through the freaking slideshow, get to the end, yes, complete, okay, and you're done, right? Because you don't want to spend your time doing it. But like, I mean, some of them are stupid, let's be serious. But there are ones where it's like, yeah, we probably should take this seriously. Like literally
Yeah.
our lives could be on the line and this is training that's supposed to help us. And we're still dicking around in the training room and we're not paying attention and we're not like, we're like, okay, like twist lock, okay, like, like arm
Yeah.
bar, like, okay, right? Like, no, like we should probably take it seriously because if we don't, and then we're all of a sudden in a situation and it's like, holy shit, this is going wrong. Like, what are we gonna do? Right? Like, no, we should probably take that seriously. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe we should, right?
Yeah.
Just maybe. Um, okay, well, I don't want to keep you all day because I know that you have lots to do and your son is coming home and you got to get that room finished. But I'm going to wrap up with a couple of rapid fire questions for you. So, what is or what has been your favorite food or snack while you are on shift?
Wow. Favorite food or snack? That is a real, I'd say like, honestly, like sushi or something like that. Because we have really good sushi places out in Wetaskiwin and you don't feel like garbage after. And it's just, I don't know, you can eat lots of it and digest it well. And
You can eat it with one hand while you're driving. Yep.
yeah, so
Also,
good.
yep. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And I didn't know that there's good sushi places in Wetaskiwin, so I'm gonna have to go to Wetaskiwin and check it out because
Legit too. Yeah.
I would have never ever thought that. So that's amazing. Okay. What is your favorite piece of equipment that you get to use?
Definitely the fact that I have a tablet in my vehicle, like it's pretty freaking awesome. I can do everything in my vehicle. So I have a printer now. I can print off tickets. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to be careful I don't get a huge ass, but I gotta get out of the vehicle once in a while.
That's hilarious. You're like, I just live here. This is where I live now, is in my vehicle. Do
Yeah,
you get assigned a vehicle? Like, is it just your vehicle or do you guys
yeah,
trade off?
yeah. It's just my vehicle.
Oh, that's wicked. So you don't
I
have to
know.
worry about it being like gross when another person has used it. Oh,
Nope.
that's glorious. Yeah, because like sharing vehicles
Yeah.
sucks. It's like when you had to share a staff station and you'd come and the person before you was like a slob and you were like, yeah. Like I would
Yeah.
not at the jail, I would not, even in the ADD's office and the DDO's office, I would not sit down until I had Cavicide wiped the whole desk, everything, always at the beginning of every single shift, did not matter. Phone, mouse, like radio, like everything, desks, arms on the chair. Like I was like, you guys are gross, dirty, dirty people. Like I am caliciding everything before I sit down. It's literally the only way I would work. And now I do it like at random places that I go. I'm like, do you have any like Lysol wipes? Because like, ew, like, thank you.
Well, they were mostly men too, so I mean,
Well, the amount of times it would drive me nuts is they would come in, they would have just like escorted somebody, they have their black gloves on, and they would like either reach across and like use my mouse to do something or use the phone. And I was like, stop that, take your gloves off. What
with
is
the
wrong
gloves on.
with you? Are you, yeah, like, are you a savage? Take your gloves off. Right? So gross. So gross. So
Ew,
yeah, hence Cavicide wipe, everything, 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 everything. Those are the best things ever. Cavicide wipes. I'm like, anytime we were low, I would like go to the nurses and be like, I just need some Cavicide wipes for me, please. And they would like give me like the secret stash of like an extra bucket and be like, thank you. Like, tuck them into my drawer in the office. That's
that's
so funny. Oh my
awesome.
God. Yeah, totally. Okay. And then what piece of advice would you give to somebody that is looking to get into a community peace officer's role?
Just do your best. Don't slack off. Don't be complacent. Um, Treat every day like different. Like, don't think that because you've been to Joe Blow's house every day for the last month that the next day is going to be the same. Like, use your radio, always sign on, always tell dispatch where you're going to be, always have all your equipment with you. Don't be complacent at all because that's what gets you killed. And it's literally the reason why we no longer have twos. So it's a fact.
Yeah, I love that you say that because complacency is literally what kills us. It 100% is complacency within the jail, complacency in the community. Like in my season 2, episode 1, Lori White, the RCMP officer that was shot, not saying that she was complacent, right? But like it was a house that they had been to multiple times before. They rolled up on it like they had multiple times before. Only this time it wasn't a routine call, right? This time he shot her. And like that's insane because again, you're not ever thinking that that's what's going to happen, right? because we've done it 100 times. We've done it 1,000 times. We've gone to the cell door 8 million times. We've talked to this inmate. Oh, it's so and so. We know them. We have a rapport with them. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Right? It doesn't matter if you think you know that person, or you think you have a rapport with that person, or you think that you're going to be able to have the same interaction with that person. Every day is different. Like you said, every day is different. Everything you deal with is going to be different. And so I think that's awesome. That is such a great piece of advice. I absolutely, absolutely love that piece of advice. And our final question, what would you say would be the thing you've learned the most out of your career?
Honestly, I believe everything happens for a reason. And I went from being a broken woman to like not being able to stand up for myself. I'd be the one in the hair salon getting a shitty haircut and just leave and cry instead of speaking up. And if anything, now I can stand up for myself, for my children. I don't just tolerate bullying or anyone bullying me or them or any of that. So as much as it sort of changed me for the bad at times, but I also don't regret it because there's no way I'd be as strong as I am today, both mentally and physically. Had I not chosen this career, I wouldn't have been able to buy a house on my own. I have so much stability, having a pension. That's huge today. Just bought a motorcycle the other day. Life has treated me very well from being in this job. So there's of course ups and downs with any career, but there's always going to be work in this field. So
Yes. That's what we always used to say, right? Oh, job security. Oh, you're pregnant again? Job security.
yeah.
Like, okay, great. That's awesome. No, and I like that. I like that you take that from that, like as that it can harden you. It will harden you. A career as a first responder will harden you. That's just something that will happen. It's harden you, but in a good way, in a way that's giving you confidence, in a way that's giving you the ability to speak up when you see that you need to speak up, right? Because a lot of times people don't. They let things go. And like for me, it's been hard, because I've always been that person that speaks up, to like see people do that and be like, no, like if you don't like your haircut, tell them. Well, no, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. It's not fine at all. Go tell them, right? But it's a different mentality to have that, and to be able to go and say, no, actually, I don't like that.
Exactly.
So yeah, awesome. Well, it has been an absolute treat talking to you today. I'm so happy that we got a chance to connect and kind of chat again, and just see, where you're at and what you've been doing. And I'm so freaking proud of you. Like, just like I said, all the things you have done since you left and where you're going, and all the, like, just I see and hear how much happy you are. And that just makes me happy, because that's all you want for people, right? Is for them to be happy and be comfortable where they are, and be, living the life that they want to live. And it sounds like you really are. And that just makes me super happy. So I'm so glad. Like I said, thank you for sharing your time and energy with me today. I appreciate it, and stay safe out there. Good luck. Message me when you do your first traffic stop, because I want to hear all about it. And hopefully I will see you in person again soon for, like, I don't know, another event or another thing, or the Female First Responders Day at Blue Line. You can come hang out with me that day too if you want to. That would be awesome. June 25th. Come and join me. And then that retreat, I would love to look into that retreat as well. So maybe we'll
I'm
get some
going.
information up. Yes, excellent. Maybe I'll get some
Sheree and
information
I
up
are
on the
going.
website about that too. Excellent. Yes. Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day, my love.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you soon, I hope.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.